What's up, everybody? This is the Jedi. I'm doing this piece because those of you who have been with me since back on my big channel, you will recall that I did extensive coverage on the murder and cover-up of Kendrick Johnson, this young prince. And it had a special sort of je ne sais quoi for me, because not only was this a young brother, and so I automatically feel connected to him, but back when I ran my business, one of the kids that worked for me, his name was Kendrick also, and he had the long locks like this Kendrick, you know. So I was kind of struck by that. This just came on my radar. I happened to see Jennifer Lewis being interviewed by Joy Reid, a name I can't say without vomiting, but thank goodness I have a team of doctors and specialists standing right next to me, and an IV drip and a Valium, so maybe I can get through this. All right. But I was struck by not only, apparently there is a film, a documentary, if you will, and I have sourced the trailer. I'd like to show you the trailer. I'd like to read an article. I want to show this interview of Jennifer Lewis because that's what brought me to the story. Not only that they were speaking about it, and I'm finding out that there's this new documentary, but Jennifer Lewis was speaking with so much passion and fire, but she also sounded as if it was a new information for her. Like, I'm not really sure she knew the case of Kendrick Johnson before now, or whenever they did this documentary or whatever. You know, inshallah, we're going to find that out as we pursue this piece. And then Joy Reid, I don't really know what her history is on it. You know, I don't know how well they covered it on MSNBC. When I did videos about it, I brought you clips from CNN and Anderson Cooper. But Joy Reid almost sounded like it was kind of a new thing for her too, if you will. You make your own assessment. First, let's see this, because this is really the crux of why I'm bringing this whole piece. All right. Let's see. Only problems know me. Hold up, y'all. Let me pause, y'all.
We now bring you the story of Kendrick Johnson, whose lifeless body was found upside down, wrapped in a wrestling mat at his high school gym in Georgia. His death was ruled an accidental asphyxiation by state and local law officials. He was only 17 years old. This was back in 2013, and his family still has questions, and they suspect foul play. There's now a documentary film on what happened to Kendrick called Finding Kendrick Johnson, the result of a 4-year investigation into the facts of the case. The filmmaker Jason Pollock asserts that Kendrick's death was no accident.
We opened the body in this particular case. The organs were not there. Paper had been stuffed into the cavity to fill it up.
Body parts are missing. Evidence is missing.
And we tested it, and it was blood. And we did DNA testing, and it was not the blood of Kendrick Johnson.
If it wasn't Kendrick blood, who blood was it?
We know it was.
If KJ had been white, we wouldn't have had to make this film.
This week, I spoke to actress Jennifer Lewis, who is also the narrator and executive producer of Finding Kendrick Johnson. And I asked her how she got involved in the project.
Well, I was on book tour with my memoir, The Mother Black Hollywood, and I did an interview with Charlemagne the God on The Breakfast Club. A young man asked me to take a photograph with Mike Brown and asked if he could send it to the director, Jason Pollock. He did, and Jason in that photograph saw my passion and called and asked me to narrate this amazing documentary.
Yeah, let's play.
And I want to say this.
Please do.
I just want to tell you, it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
To sit
I can
there
imagine.
and talk about them taking this boy's organs and killing him.
I can only imagine. Let's play a little clip of the documentary for those who are watching.
White Devils.
A 5'10" kid decided to go head first into a 6-foot mat, then realized after he was stuck that he was gonna die down there. And then he died down there, stuck. Somehow silently, with a gym full of kids playing basketball and changing classes around him. And then his shoes magically appeared on the top of his body, inside the mat, shoved into the hole. His legs became twisted in the mat.
There are so many discrepancies in this case. The original finding that he died of accidental asphyxiation versus the finding that it was blunt force trauma. The organs being missing. There's so much here. Now, the filmmakers are saying they found new evidence. What can people expect to learn from this documentary that we didn't already know?
Well, that it was just a cover-up. Mitch Credo, the whistleblower, who was sent from D.C. to investigate this case, acquired enough evidence that a judge gave permission for an all-out raid into these people's home, the Bell's home. Now, that's a lot of evidence for a judge to give permission to storm someone's house.
Right.
What happened? What happened after that?
And to storm white people's house.
All under the rug. This is one of the biggest tragedies I've ever heard, that they took that baby's organs, murdered him, and then took his organs. They exhumed the body and found that the child had been stuffed with newspaper.
Yep.
This family has to live with that. And I'm here to tell you right now, I am going to fight for justice for Kendrick Johnson's family until that case is open. We are calling on Biden, the Congress, the Senate, to open this case now that we have this evidence.
Let me play one more clip because I want people to hear the parents of Kendrick. Here, who's called KJ, his nickname. Here are his parents as part of this documentary.
Yeah.
How would you feel if your son went to school and never came home, never returned home, and then the next day you found out he was rolled up in a gym mat?
My thing is to let people know that they have a voice. They don't have to be silent. They don't have to be scared to fight no more. They can speak out.
Yeah, forget all that fear.
This time. We ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. My baby life matter.
This case, is one of the most disturbing, I have to say, that I've ever heard about. The sense that there's a cover-up, the sense that it's a much bigger case than we've even been led to believe in the beginning. You said you've called on the Justice Department to intervene. Is it your expectation that you think that is going to happen? Do you think it's likely that with this publicity and with you, with your prominence, do you think it'll happen?
It's going to happen. It is going to happen. Because I'm telling you right now, Joy, I am going to fight. I am going to use my platform for this case. I had that family here in my home. I gave them a big Southern dinner, Valdosta, Georgia. This is where this whole murder occurred.
Yeah.
This is the same town where Mary Turner was hung from a bridge they've actually named in Valdosta, the Hanging Bridge. Hung her and cut her baby out of her stomach. It's time for us to stop turning away from all of this.
Time to get armed.
Justice has to happen in this case because the evidence is right there. Imagine being the mother of this child, 17 years old,
Beautiful
knowing
kid.
somebody probably rich and white are walking around with his organs. It's not right.
It's not right. And it would be nice if we had an anti-lynching law in this country. That would actually be nice, too, because it feels like that is what we're talking about here. Jennifer Lewis, thank you for using your platform for doing something so important. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being.
Yeah, Because I'll remind you that the Asians got pushed down for about 5 minutes and they had to have legislation in 5 minutes. And, all members of Congress voted in support of it, except literally one damn person, you know. And we also have to be over this waiting and begging for justice, everybody. If something like this happened to a child of mine, I'm killing everybody. Like, that's just what it is. That's just what it is. We are sovereign creatures created by Allah. We don't wait on somebody to define justice. We know what right and wrong is. You understand? And the penalty for murder is death. Period. That's just what it is. But I appreciate the passion with which Jennifer Lewis spoke. You understand? It's the only reason to be famous. It's the only reason to be famous. It's the only reason to be famous. There's no other reason to be famous. There was no other reason. And can I just say, she's not aged even 5 minutes. Like, she still looks exactly the same. So, it's like, okay, fine, the interview and everything, but cut the crap, Jennifer. Where's the Fountain of Youth? All right, where is it? All right, tell us now. All right, so I think we should then see the trailer now, and then we'll get into an article. But that was Kendrick that they showed, and that was the thing that made it so heinous for me when I first ever came across the case years ago. This stuffing of the newspaper in his body. And like she said, probably somebody rich and white is walking around his organs. I love that. We don't hold tongues. Akulu Kalan Sadida. We say what is. And you'll recall in one of the video clips that I brought you when I was covering the story, a black reporter went to ask the local sheriff to get an interview. And I'm not talking about that case. And then the guy says, why not? He was in his office and everything, following around with the camera, and goes, because I don't want to. I still hear that in my sleep, and I wake up screaming, and I have to be medicated and held. Because I don't want to. That's the white arrogance. But that one sentence frames up their attitude, all of them, their attitude towards justice for African people. But the entire country was just searching for this white bitch that went missing, I mean, we're the ones we're waiting on, everybody. We have everything we need to rectify any and all issues that confront and concern us. It's just you don't have men amongst us. Warriors. You don't have individuals who their principal motivator is righteousness. Because when you are focused on righteousness, you're moving in the right direction, and you're not concerned about what anybody else thinks, feels, or says. And you will do what needs to be done without fear. Now, let me cue up this trailer for this new piece now.
I can't do this. I cannot do this.
Well, 911, where's your emergency?
Yes, I'm calling my son had come home from school, Kendrick Johnson.
She said, have you heard from Kendrick? 12 o'clock, I knew he was dead.
The body had been moved. The scene, in my opinion, had been compromised.
When they said he climbed inside the bed to get the shoes, I already knew that was a lie.
We opened the body in this particular case. The organs were not there. Paper had been stuffed into the cavity to fill it up.
Body parts are missing. Evidence is missing.
And we tested it, and it was blood. Now, we did DNA testing, and it was not the blood of Kendrick Johnson.
If it wasn't Kendrick blood, who blood was it?
The parents hired their own medical examiner who said this was a killing.
An FBI agent's home was raided last month in connection with the investigation into the death of a Valdosta teenager.
Supporters for Kendrick's family are calling for a Department of Justice investigation.
What do you want? Justice!
The Johnsons and their supporters now hope the FBI will get an answer to what happened to Kendrick
Look at
Johnson.
this.
All along, we know it was bullshit. We know it was bullshit.
If KJ had been white, we wouldn't have had to make this film.
Wow. Now, and you saw they were treating the father there. You know, you seek justice and you become the damn suspect and shit. You know, but it's also a commentary of weakness when after all these years you're still waiting for an investigation. You understand? Fear is greater than love, everybody. Fear is greater than love. And you get more result when people feel fear. But more than that, when you move in the way of righteousness, the divine will be with you and you will be victorious. We got to put down this fear. You understand? And respect for this crooked ass law and all this nonsense, because we know these laws are just, they make them up on the fly. Anything that's to our detriment and not our favor, that oppresses us, they that's what they're in favor of. We have to establish our own reaction to everything and serve notice that when you take one of our children and you murder them and stuff their bodies with paper, there will be a very swift reaction that does not require investigations. You understand? You do unto others as they do unto you, and they don't do the shit no more. That's the golden rule. Let us be clear. Let us be clear. Now, I want to get into an article now. All right. I guess I'm going to try to do it like this. They're trying to get me to get cookies and all this nonsense. I'm over it. Finding Kendrick Johnson. Narrator Jennifer Lewis is not fucking around with justice for the Johnson family. This is written 27th August. Monique Jones. When it comes to getting justice for Valdosta, Georgia teen Kendrick Johnson and his family, Jennifer Lewis is not playing games. In a recent interview with Shadow and Act, Lewis quoted Big Frida's verse from Beyonce's Formation. It's a quote Lewis is using in her next book, Walking in My Joy. Quote, I did not come to play with you hoes. I came to stay, she quoted. And that is my attitude with my activism. I'm not fucking around. Lewis is doing all she can to elevate Jason Pollock's documentary Finding Kendrick Johnson, which she narrated, to the public consciousness. The film centers on everything we know so far about Johnson's mysterious death in his high school gym, the allegations of conspiracies, and the fact that a lot of people believe that there is more to the story. Lewis said she was asked by Pollock to lend her voice to the project. Pollock has had Lewis in mind since 2017, the year he released his documentary about Michael Brown's killing, Strange Fruit. He was sent a picture of Lewis posing with a portrait of Brown, and that plus Lewis's activism made her a perfect choice to narrate Finding Kendrick Johnson. She immediately put everything aside to help. Quote, when he started working on this documentary, he chose me as a celebrity who could possibly use the platform to promote this documentary. So I got on board, she said. You know, I was overwhelmed in my career, but when you hear this kind of tragedy, you step up to the plate and you step as fast as you can to help find these parents justice. I mean, look at what they did. They stayed on the street for years. I mean, it became a thing in Valdosta. Everybody was going to support the family. These people have been on the street again for years, and they need justice. All of our parents do, for these children who have been unjustly murdered or injured, for that matter, thrown in jail for protesting. Trump and all his shit, he might as well be J. Edgar Hoover on these streets. So I got on board. I have to be honest with you. Narrating the film was the most difficult thing for me to do. To say the words, "they took his organs," or to say the words, "the FBI stormed somebody's house." As the film reports, a now former FBI agent whose sons were persons of interest per an FBI investigation into the case, did have FBI agents storm his home, but charges were never brought against the brothers, and the FBI video analysis concluded that they were in a separate area of the school when Kendrick was found. Well, when he was found, it don't matter when he was found, you understand? Because we know he'd been in that mat for quite some time, you understand? Where were they at when he was murdered? All right. In the film, it is revealed that at some point during Johnson's initial autopsy in Valdosta, his organs were removed and his body cavity was filled with newspaper, further desecrating the young teen. When asked what it was like to say those lines regarding Johnson's body, Lewis quoted Marlon Brando from Apocalypse Now, quote, "The horror, the horror, the horror." The film also shows how Johnson's death is sadly par for the course in America, in white America, I will add, which has a long history of brutal racial violence and degradation. In one instance of the film, Johnson's death is put parallel to the circumstance surrounding Emmett Till's death, including the public seeing the boys' brutalized bodies. However, while Till's mother, Mamie Till, Rahimahullah, may Allah rest her soul. However, while Till's mother was able to make the hard decision to show the world what white racists in Mississippi did to her son, Johnson's mother was traumatized by internet users uploading pictures of her son's body to the internet, as was revealed in the film. Yeah, I brought you those pictures. The sad thing, as Lewis spoke about in the interview, is that white America continues to refuse to face its past and its present, leading to repeats of the same violence seen decades after decade. Lewis not only discussed the lynching and historical trauma, but how it relates to events we've seen in the present day, such as the January 6th insurrection and Trumpism as a whole, an ideology that fosters xenophobia, racism, and outright anarchy. But again, mentioning decade after decade, what I tell you all the time, everybody, because I'm firm on this, it's the truth. Nothing has changed. White people still exist. You understand? And we have to understand and accept by now that they have characteristics, that's who they are. They are a violent, savage, dishonest, immoral people or thing. You understand? That's what they are. And just because you run across one or two that act like they nice, that doesn't change anything. You walk into a beehive, you don't get stung. Bees still sting. You walk into a thing of rattlesnakes. Maybe only one can bite you, but that's still rattlesnakes. You understand? We have to be rational. They forgot who built the Capitol, she said of the insurrectionists. They didn't know that the glass in that building wasn't of the same quality as the one in a trailer. Ooh, the shade of it. Where they probably live. She's going in. Wow. We built this fucking building, and that glass is beveled, bitch. Wow, Jennifer. That's how you speak. when you're an African person in the public eye. You understand? You don't hold your tongue and you reflect the righteous anger of our people. She also held black pop culture figures such as Busta Rhymes, who recently went on a tirade against anti-masking, and Kanye West, who famously supported the Orange Puff at the tail end of Trump's campaign, months after saying slavery was a choice. Lewis said Rhymes, and especially West, broke my heart with their actions. My heart sank, she said. They don't realize how much influence they have on these kids. Act like you got some sense and do the right thing. Harriet Tubman and them didn't do what they did. My grandmother was found dead, holding twins, both of them dead from lack of nutrition, she continued. And you're telling me that we can't take one knee in protest like Colin Kaepernick when our ancestors took two knees in the cotton field? Wow. Wow. It's the past and present that propels Lewis to fight for the future. I love that. It is the past and the present that propels Lewis to fight for the future. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. I don't fuck around when it comes to the next generation. You see, I've got everything I wanted, and all I think about now, my mind is consumed with helping the next generation, she said, adding that there are plans for her to speak before Congress. I just want to do my best to help. I've got everything I wanted. Why wouldn't I just give back? She said. The rest of my life will be spent giving back as much as I can. You better go, girl. If it cuts off, y'all, I'm just going to do a second part and you'll have to watch it. I'm not going to get up and meld the parts together. Too fat and lazy. And right now, among Lewis's top priorities is getting justice for Johnson and his family, considering the content that the film spotlights. Lewis thinks justice is around the corner. Quote, they got a bridge down there called the Hanging Bridge, she said in part. We coming for that ass. We're going to win. I'm not even going to say if we don't. We're going to win. One day, the Johnson family, are going to rise up. They are going to rise up like Maya Angelou told us, and still I rise. You can do that. You can do this. You can do this, that, and the other, but still I rise. Finding Kendrick Johnson is now available on demand and is screening in theaters. Learn more about the film at the links in the film's link tree. Watch a clip from the film below. Well, we've seen it already. We'll just see if this is the same trailer that we saw. I don't want to be redundant. Where's my sound? So I'm saying only problems know me.
Jay went missing. We found something that the FBI cleared.
Wait.
One thing we kept hearing over and over again was about this missing FBI report.
So I'm saying only problems know me.
Regarding the security tape hard drive and the blacked out footage. So we looked into finding that report.
A lot of footage was blacked out.
Locate it, and we did. However, the report was heavily redacted. But then we were able to find the unredacted FBI report, and what we discovered blew us away. You see, in the redacted report, you can barely see any of the video frames. Most of the frames are blacked out, and the ones with KJ are barely recognizable. In the unredacted report, we were able to see all the video frames in full color. The report follows KJ, Brian, and Brandon's movement throughout the school for the entire day and records where they were. Not only is this further video evidence that the Bell Boys were on campus when KJ went missing, we found something that the FBI clearly didn't want us to see. Let us put them side by side so you can see what we found. Here they are. Can you see something a little odd? Look closely. There appears to be a frame on both pages that matches. How could this be? What tipped us off is KJ's yellow folder. We were going through Brian's movements, and all of a sudden, KJ's folder appeared on screen. That's right. There's a frame on KJ's side and Brian's side that is identical. The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
Liar.
I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go?
White
Why did
collusion.
it take 6 years and an independent filmmaker to
White
find
collusion.
this?
White collusion.
These are all questions that may never go answered. But what we do know for sure is that we have more facts now than we ever had. And this case needs to be reopened and re-examined with a fine-tooth comb.
White collusion, white allegiance. Do you understand? From the fuckers that murdered him all the way up to the damn FBI, all the way to the fat ass, because I don't want to. I'm over it. I will land it here, everybody, so we don't have to look around for a second part. You will remind me to bring this up in our next live, and we'll discuss it at length. I love you all. I'll see you soon.